I'm joined by two straight up hustlers. They're killing it. They own and operate an incredibly successful valet and parking shuttle service. Very, very excited to invite Clay and Jonathan Velarde on the podcast.
Jonny, his fiance, and I started Parking Pros. We did 5,000 each, and that went really quick.
So to sum it all up, you guys started with 15,000 investment, and now you guys are running a multi-million-dollar company.
You know, we ended up in trouble early on.
Year over year, we've increased, and we just want to keep growing it.
How do you ensure that the employees really maintain a high standard, especially when something's like a high turnover industry like this?
You know, as they say, when the cat's away, the mice will play. We have a handful of supervisors. They're holding it down. You know, Jonathan and I, we do our part by making sure that the supervisors basically just stay on top of that.
What were some of the biggest challenges that you guys faced?
Biggest mistakes that we've learned: employee-employer laws, especially in California. So if you own a business or you're thinking about starting a business, make sure you know all the rules about clocking in, clocking out, overtime.
It seems like valet parking and all these different services is very competitive. So what makes valet parking pros stand out amongst all the competition? What's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of The Lowdown. Today, I'm joined by two straight up hustlers. They're killing it. They own and operate an incredibly successful valet and parking shuttle service down in Southern California. They also operate it in Florida and other parts of the East Coast. They're also the hosts of the Get After It podcast. We also happen to be in the same hotel investing community. So I'm very, very excited to invite and have Clay and Jonathan Velarde on the podcast. So Jonathan and Clay, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Morning, Lorenzo. Thank you.
Yeah, of course. So big picture really quick. How many employees do you guys currently have in your business? What kind of revenue you guys pull in? And where do you guys operate?
Go ahead, Clay.
All right, man. So right now we got about 70 employees. Between the 70 employees, we got about 20 that are full-time. The other 50 are part-time. They got their 9 to 5, Monday through Friday, but they do a lot of weekend work for us when they're not working their main job. So about 70 employees. Last year we did about $3.5 million in revenue. And this year, we're on track to do a little bit more. Year over year, we've increased, and we just want to keep growing it. We're currently getting our headquarters built out in California. We got a nice office here in Florida, where I'm living at, and excited to get it going in California as well.
Nice. So how did this even come into fruition? Was this something that started a long time ago? Is it pretty recent? How did the valet parking pros even just come into existence?
Yeah, good question. So my father, Jaime, he came to this country in the 80s, and his first job was parking cars. And he decided he wanted to open up his own valet company. So ABC Valet, Alliance United Valet, that was his company. And he operated that from the 80s to basically current day. Jonathan and I would park cars for him growing up. And, as we got older, we wanted to eventually take over his operation. But, I don't know if you've ever worked with your parents before, but it can get a little tough. I love them, but it was just really, really difficult working together. We oftentimes had our own differences, and he'd like to do things his way. We like to do things our way. So we thought it was best to just open up our own business. So that's when Parking Pros came to fruition in 2020. So we're going on just about 5 years of business.
Got it. And so did you guys go straight into high school, right into the business, or did you guys do something before that?
Yeah. So I'll let Jonathan explain his part, but I went to Channel Islands College shortly after graduating. I originally actually thought I wanted to get into the medical industry, healthcare industry. I studied nursing throughout college, graduated with my health science degree. And shortly after, man, I was doing a lot of volunteer work. I was working in and out of hospitals, retirement homes, physical therapy offices. And I just realized I was like, I'm not really cut out for this. It takes a special person to be in that industry. And so I kind of fell back on what I knew, what I did my whole life, which was parking cars.
Got it. And what about you, Jonny?
Yeah, so I graduated high school in 2013. And then 2 months after that, I was at Marine Corps boot camp at MCRD San Diego. So I kind of just went all in on the military route right after high school. I did 5 years active duty in the Marine Corps. I was doing presidential security, so I was stationed at Camp David in Maryland. And then after that, I went to the White House to finish out my enlistment. So I was there for about 13 months, I think. And then when I finished the Marine Corps, moved back to California, went to community college for a couple months, got the credits I needed to transfer to Pepperdine University, awesome school in Malibu, and I got my undergrad there in business. And shortly thereafter is when we kind of my brother, me, and my fiance at the time, we kind of decided to open up our own company. Like Clay said, the original plan was just to take over our dad's business, but it was just a little, different mindset and stuff like that. So we did our own thing. It's been great, friendly competition, and yeah, that's kind of my little story so far. I'm 29, married. I have 3 little kids. Ava's 4, Lucas is like 2.5, and my newest, Isabella, she's 4 months. So we're busy, and it's great.
Nice, man. Well, first of all, thank you for your service. I come from a big background of military family. My brother's in the Army. My dad was in the Air Force for 20 years. My mom was in the Air Force for 6 years.
Wow.
So
Nice.
yeah, big family. So yeah,
Thank you.
really appreciate that. So was that transition pretty easy to you for transit, like going from the military to business?
I think so. Yeah, for me, it was. I would say it was pretty easy because my parents are entrepreneurs, at heart. So, and like Clay said, we were always working in the parking lots growing up and hustling and doing, things to make money. So I was ready for it. Like that's what I wanted to do. And yeah, I always knew I would own my own company one day. So I was excited for it. And yeah, to answer your question.
Nice. So what did those early days look like? Because you said you started in 2020, right? So that was like right in the beginning of COVID.
2020 is when our first year of Parking Pros. Yeah, that was the peak COVID. March of 2020 is technically when we, filed our paperwork for our LLC. And 2020, I think we did like 45,000 in revenue.
Nice.
And 2021 was like our first real year. We did like 950,000 in revenue. And then 2022, we did like 1.6 million. And then 2023, we did like 2.6. And then last year, we did like 3.3. So just kind of steadily growing. And yeah, I mean, the one thing I've noticed is like, because it's pretty like, it's not easy, but it's easy to do $1 million if you have a good business model and you're in the right market. Like you can do that solo or with 1 or 2 people, but then to grow from there, it's all about having systems and teams and like processes, because you can't do it all by yourself unless you're just selling like some crazy. Like everyone only has 24 hours in a day, so if you want to scale, you got to have the teams and systems in place.
Yeah. So that first year you said you did about 40,000, and then the next year you did 900,000. That's a huge jump. So what do you think you did differently from 2020 to 2021 that really helped to grow the business so much? Was it just because in 2020 there was just a huge lockdown and all that stuff, or what do you think attributed to that big gain in success?
Yeah, I would say for 2020, that's a lot of it had to do with the COVID shutdowns and stuff. Yeah, so like 2020 was kind of a fake year. Like we probably would have done a couple 100K, to be honest, if it was a normal year. And then 2021, there was just all that pent up demand. It was Southern California was a booming market. It always is a booming market for that industry, and all the stimmy checks and PPP money and low interest rates. Everyone was just kind of spending money. So that's kind of what I feel like. We had some luck, but we also had right timing and the right market too, and the need for it. Yeah.
What was your very first client?
Clay, go ahead.
Our first client was the Malibu Jewish Center. this synagogue right off PCH, beautiful wedding venue. They got a massive center that you can have like these big weddings and mitzvahs, like just huge events. And that was just, we got that account through a Facebook post. Some friend that I went to high school with he owns a security company, and he posted something. Does anyone know of a good reputable valet company? And someone shouted me out, and through getting tagged on a Facebook post, we ended up getting one of our bigger accounts. So that was just the luck of the draw, but it ended up working out really well.
That's awesome. So do you guys I know you said you do valet parking, shuttle service, all that different stuff. Where do you think that most of the amount of revenue comes in from? Is there one specific area of the business? Is it more so just like shuttle services? Is it like when you do parking for events?
Yeah, good question. I think when we originally started, we were doing mostly valet parking. So we would get contracted out for private events, right? So like weddings or birthday parties or corporate events. And over time, we've gotten contracted for a lot more shuttle transportation. And that's kind of becoming just as popular or just as busy as the valet portion is as well. So I would say between valet parking and shuttles, they're pretty close to about 50-50 at the moment. Yeah.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah.
Got it. What did your team look like in the beginning? Was it just you two guys and a few hires? Like at what point did you guys really start to scale up?
Yeah. So in the beginning, Jonny and myself, we would have our mom help us work events. Like we were out in the field, parking the cars, getting down in the dirt, in the weeds of it. But over time, we were able to basically acquire, a handful of staff, and those staff members had colleagues or friends that wanted to work as well. And now it's mainly just kind of word of mouth that we get most of our hires from. So in the beginning, and it's difficult too, because when you're first starting out, it's hard to have retention when you don't have enough events going on, right? Like it takes some time. Once you have that deal flow coming in where you have a consistent amount of events, that's when you can have consistent workforce.
Mm-hmm. How do you ensure that the employees like really maintain a high standard, especially when something's like a high turnover industry like this?
Yeah, good question. We have a handful of supervisors, and they're holding it down in terms of making sure our staff members show up in uniform, making sure that they're driving the vehicle safely, making sure that they're showing up on time. So those are our boots on the ground that really make sure that everyone's kind of staying in place. And then Jonathan and we do our part by making sure that the supervisors, basically just stay on top of that.
Got it. Okay. Nice. How did you, when did that shift come from like working really in the business versus like on the business? Because you said in the beginning, you guys were doing a lot of parking yourselves and really doing like the grunt work. So when did that shift come when you're like, I'm going to start hiring out and actually start building these processes and systems in place?
I would say it really began when Jonathan moved to Florida. So to kind of take a step back, we started our company in 2020, right? And we started in California. Well, in 2020, shortly after we started, I moved across the country. I moved to Florida. That's where I currently live now. So Jonathan was still living in California at the time, and he actually moved to Florida as well. So that was in 2021. So in 2021, we were both living in Florida. And at that point, 95% of our business was in California. Like we were doing everything there. So when we were both in Florida, we really had to buckle down and get some good quality supervisors that could really handle like the workforce for us. So it was scary at first because we were like, how are we going to manage a valet company from across the country? Like we're not even living in the same state where we're having all of these events. But it's worked out really, really well. Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's definitely the dream, is to be able to build a company like this where you can do everything remote and have all these like systems in place so that it's able to run without you being there.
Yeah, yeah, no, definitely. And you gotta it's hard work. Don't get me wrong, hard work. You gotta constantly be in communication with your team because as they say, like when the cat's away, the mice will play. You got to make sure that your team knows that you're checking in on them daily, and eventually, we'll bring someone on our team that will basically take over our job, what we're currently doing, because big picture, scaling, and if you want to grow, you got to hire more people underneath that can help you grow, basically. So.
Yeah. What were some of the biggest challenges that you guys faced early on, or some big mistakes that you guys had? Johnny,
That
you want to go?
Yeah, biggest mistakes that we've learned just being new business owners is like employee employer really like the laws, especially in California. So if you own a business or you're thinking about starting a business, make sure you know all the rules about clocking in, clocking out, overtime, meal breaks, rest periods, vacation time, sick time, all that stuff. Because if you don't know it, or you choose to not follow it, then you can end up, in trouble. And that's, we ended up in trouble early on. Thankfully, it was early on and not now because we've grown. But yeah, we were just doing things not out of like malintent, just we were unaware of the technicalities. And
Mhm.
yeah, so I would say know that. And then what's the other stuff? When you're just starting out, like you kind of gotta do everything by yourself. Like you gotta do the books, you gotta do the websites, the marketing, all that stuff. But then as you scale, as you start to make money, then if you want to keep growing, then you got to learn how to pawn those tasks out. You got to bring in experts. Either you hire them and make them part of your team, or you can outsource them, like hire third party vendors, like a marketing company, or you can have like bookkeepers do all your transactions and like all that stuff takes. You got to figure out what your worth is per hour. Like if your hourly is $200 an hour or $800 an hour, then anything less than that, you should be hiring out. Like you shouldn't be doing it. You should be focusing on the shit that produces the high ticket sales. So
Yep.
yeah,
Yep.
that's
That's
that's pretty much it.
Yeah, it's true gold. Just like I know we all are big readers, but the book Dan Martell, Buy Back Your Time, is just really focused on those high producing tasks, like you said, and
Hmm.
also just really knowing the different things and doing those roles early on, because if you don't, then you don't know what mistakes to look out for that other people are doing.
Yeah, yeah. Like during COVID, I probably spent 30 hours building our website, like on YouTube and stuff like that, which was fine. Like I wasn't doing anything else. But like now, that's the last thing I would want to do. Like I'd rather spend 30 hours analyzing, parking lot purchases or having lunch with different general managers for like hotels, like building relationships. Like the high ROI stuff right now. Getting in the right rooms, meeting, shaking hands, looking at deals. Um, yeah, like the kind of big picture stuff.
Yeah. One thing I really want to touch on is, it seems like valet parking and all these different services is very competitive. So what makes valet parking pros stand out amongst all the competition?
Yeah,
In
yeah,
in
Johnny,
southern
go for it.
in Southern California, and especially Southern California, that's like a huge market. It's very easy to anyone can go get started. Like all you have to do is file your LLC paperwork, get a phone number. You don't have to have insurance, but it's recommended, and then you can start. But to survive and get the good deals and stuff, you got to have great reviews. You got to have the insurance. Everyone's got to be uniformed, and it's all about reputation. In the beginning, you're not going to get the big contracts and the big the events from Apple that need 40 valets. You're probably not going to get hired for those because you don't have the street cred yet. But then like 2 or 3 years down the road, if your name's been thrown around the wedding planners and the party planners, then you're more likely to land stuff like that. So yeah, what was your question again? I forgot. I kind of went on a tangent.
No, I was just asking what makes you guys stand out amongst all the other valet companies and stuff like that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I would say right now, I would say, because we've been in business like 5 years, I would say our reviews, we're veteran owned. Our reviews are how quickly we respond to inquiries. Like if you submit a quote request on our website, you'll get a full proposal the same day, but most likely within like an hour or two max. So
Wow.
customer service, the speed is probably the biggest thing.
Yeah, just from a consumer standpoint, that's definitely the thing that I look for the most is how well is your communication, how quick do you respond, and all this different stuff. Because when I was looking for a wedding service, when I got married in Thousand Oaks, which is close to where you guys were at,
Oh, nice.
yeah, I was like, who responds the fastest, who gives me the best quote, and all that stuff. And so, yeah, I think that's absolutely huge, and it seems like you guys are really crushing that. So, kudos to you guys.
What venue did you get married at?
The lake at Malibu Lodge.
Oh, okay. Yeah, we've done events there. Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was in 2022. So it seems like just yesterday. Yeah. One thing I also really want to ask is, so you guys are obviously brothers and you guys have been doing business for a while now. What are some of the complementing skill sets that you guys have for one another? Because typically in order to have a successful business or business partners, you want to have people who have complementing skill sets, maybe something Jonny you're good at, maybe Clay sucks at, and vice versa. What are the things that you guys have that complement each other?
Yeah, I can take the lead on this one. I'll start with, what I'm really, really good at communicating with our staff. So I'm kind of the operations guy. I make sure that everything's flowing smoothly on the day-to-day operations, from our ongoing accounts to our private events, to just staffing basically. And I'm really, really bad at like filing paperwork, and I'm not that organized when it comes to the bookkeeping and all that behind the scenes stuff. And in my opinion, I mean, that's what Johnny's really good at. Is he's very organized, very detailed, and he handles that sector of the business along with sales. And I mainly handle the operation standpoint. I do sales as well, but mainly operations. So the two complement each other very well.
Yeah. Did you know these skill sets that you had early on, or is it something you kind of just like learned over time?
I would say that it kind of like we didn't go into business together saying like, okay, like I'm going to handle this and you're going to handle that. Like we kind of just did, everything together. But then over time we realized like, okay, like I'm really good at the schedule. I'm really good at talking to the valets. I'm really good at, talking to the managers at the different accounts. So I'm going to handle that. And then I realized I was really bad at the other parts. So that's what Jonny kind of took the lead on those.
Got it. Okay. Yeah. The only reason I'm asking is because I have a couple brothers and siblings, and I would love to get in business with them someday. And so I'm just trying to think about all these different things that to think about before doing that.
Yeah, no, for sure. I would. Some people say don't go into business with family. I don't think that's true at all. You guys gotta be on the same. You have to have the same vision at the end of the day, and the same tolerance for risk. I think that that's very important. If one of your partners is willing to take, a lot of risk, and the other partner kind of wants to play it safe, probably not going to be the best fit. So you got to definitely make sure that you got a good um, relationship with that. And then, yeah, you'll figure out the mundane daily tasks kind of along the way.
Yeah. Love it. So if you guys were to start all over again, would with say like $5,000 to $10,000, what would you do? Would you just start it from scratch again, or do you think it'd be better to just start and acquire another company? Because I'm just trying to think about if other people want to start a company similar to yours, what would be the biggest piece of advice you'd give?
I would, if I were to start all over again, you said with 10,000?
Yeah.
Basically 10,000. I would 100% invest that into, I would invest like three or four, I'd probably invest like 3,000 of that into a nice quality website, because without a quality website, you have no reputation. Like if these people that are hiring for events in Southern California, they're spending close to $100,000, if not more. They're not going to book a service with a janky website. Like they want to have a reputable site. So don't just have a generic website with a bunch of stock photos. Like even if you have to order some valet uniforms and be an actor, like do that. That's what Jonny and I did. So have a solid website, and then the rest of the money, you gotta bet on yourself. Put some money into Google ads. Get your name out there. Invest a little bit into platforms like Wedding Wire, Yelp, Thumbtack, like these different avenues where people can book your services. And it's scary at first because, I mean, it's not cheap. Like Google charges our credit card like $5,000 a week, so it adds up. And if you're not capitalizing on those leads that you get, you'll go broke pretty quick. But at the same time, if you want to get your name out there and you want to get deals, like you got to pay for them. They're not just going to call you out of the blue. So
Yeah,
that's what I would do.
Yeah, that's absolute gold. I mean, you can have the best service in the world, but if no one knows about you, like it doesn't mean anything. So I think marketing is so important in any industry. So it's really awesome that you recognize that.
Yeah. When Jonny, his fiance, and I started Parking Pros, we basically we did 5,000 each. So I had $5,000, he did, and she did. So we collectively we had 15,000, and that went really quick. But got some uniforms, basic uniforms, and then the rest we put into website design and Google, basically, and a little valet equipment. But valet equipment's very cheap. You can, a couple signs, umbrellas, keyboards, like valet tickets. Like it's very inexpensive.
Yeah. So to sum it all up, you guys started with 15,000. That was your pretty much startup cost and investment, and now you guys are running a multi-million-dollar company. Let's go, baby! That's incredible. Seriously, congratulations.
Thanks, man. Thank you, man.
Yeah. Was there ever a moment when you guys thought that it would never work out? Or were you guys just like determined from the get-go?
I always thought it would work out because our dad and our mom both have had valet companies. And yeah, I never thought it would fail, to be honest. There's been some, major setbacks that kind of make you want to reconsider, but at the end of the day, it's just a little step along the journey. So I would say to chime in on the beginning, like if you had 10 or 15,000 to start a company, I would say everything that Clay said is accurate, but I would also, knowing what I know now, I would document all the journey along the way. Like I would, to take a selfie video. Hey guys, this is day one. I'm starting, XYZ parking company, and I just want to take you guys along the journey and post shit every day and, document the journey. Because I think if someone's looking at that, that'd be super cool. And if they don't think it's cool, at least if you make it in 5 years, you can look back and see yourself where you came from.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. Documenting everything on social media is huge. Not only is it cool to just see the journey, but it really builds trust with people and just show that you're an expert in whatever industry you are. If you're not that expert yet, it's like showing the steps that you're taking every day, which can make it also more relatable to someone because maybe they're interested in starting it too, and they're just at the same level as you. And so, yeah, I think now social media, just as you guys know, is honestly our resume. And it's like the best thing to do.
Yeah, and the cool thing with our industry is a lot of the stuff is like private event bookings for like weddings or corporate events or whatever. And a lot of times, like for us, we charge in advance. So if you book a $5,000 wedding shuttle for your event in September, I'm going to charge you $2,500 today, and then I'm going to charge you the other $2,500 a week prior to your event. So we're never, like, as long as you're responsible with the money coming in, you always have money coming in. You're not waiting 60 days to get paid. Now, if you have like a hospital account or something, or it's $1 million a year account, you're probably going to be on net 30 or net 60, but that's how it is with those bigger contracts.
Nice. So where do you guys see valet parking pros going in the next 3 to 5 years? Do you guys want to expand totally nationally? Do you guys just really want to hone in on those few markets that you guys are in? What's your guys' predictions for the future?
Yeah, for the next 3 to 5 years, I really want to double down on California and Florida. Those markets are big enough. We tried dabbling in Georgia and like South Carolina and like different cities. Like our thought process was to hire people in those cities and states. But if we're going to go and expand to different cities and states, I would rather just acquire like a local company that already has the team in place and the network. So we're in Florida and SoCal. The goal is to get more recurring revenue accounts like Nobu's and Mastro's and Ruth's Chris and like those nice name restaurants or like hotels. Hospitals would be great. I've been looking at, I was really interested in like buying a hotel. I've also started researching like parking lots because if you can buy a freaking parking lot in a hot market, like those things print money and you literally don't have to do anything except make sure your payment methods are working so people don't, get free parking.
Mm.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Clay.
I was just going to say too, to chime in on the parking lot deals, you don't have to worry about them burning down or a hurricane happening. Like it's just a parking lot. Obviously you got some parking lot maintenance, but yeah, it's a great investment.
Yeah, I was thinking about that also because I was in San Diego last year, and it was just like, I mean, San Diego in general is like a hot real estate market, but it was like one of those like four-story parking garages, and it was like incredibly expensive to like just like even park there for the day. And I was like, damn, whoever owns this is probably making so much freaking money. So it's like, well, I don't know what price points are you looking at, or like what are typical parking lots cost?
Right now, I would say if it's just me and my brother, like our price point would be probably 2 million, like maybe 2.5 if it needed some work. But that's what's cool about getting in the right rooms. Like we're in a hotel mastermind and a content creation mastermind. So, if you can get the word out and if you have a good deal, like you could partner up with 3, 4, 5 people. Everybody brings, $500,000 to the table. Now your purchasing power is at like 10 million or 15 million. So yeah.
What kind of financing does it look like when you're trying to buy a parking lot?
I would say if you're buying it from somebody that owns it, you could do seller financing, which is a great option in today's environment. You just have to find the right deal. Oftentimes parking lots are owned outright. But if that's not an option, you could also just get like conventional commercial loan. You go to a bank, banks are a little weird with lending on just like land. They usually want to have some collateral. But if they're a local bank and they like the market and they know that the parking lot's busy and they trust you, it's all about relationships. Like a bank will fucking lend on anything as long as the deal makes sense and you have, some track record. So as long as you can do that, you got trust, you're pretty golden. Rates right now make deals hard to pencil though.
Yeah. So when you're buying like a commercial lot like that, is it usually like 30% down?
I would say for a parking lot, I would say more like 40% would be safer, maybe even 50. But like I said, if you have a bunch of loans with the bank, you got $500,000 in cash in a money market and they like you, everything's negotiable. So,
yeah.
But yeah,
That's
I would say closer to 50% if it's a parking lot.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, I'll keep the eye out for parking lots for you guys.
Thank you.
And
yeah.
if we find a parking lot, we'll hit you up, Lorenzo. Maybe you can come in on it with us.
They're really cool, and it's like unless you're in the business, then you're not really like you don't really think about it. Like everyone's got a car, everyone has to park, and if you're going to San Diego to self park your car, at a garage near the Gaslamp district is probably $55, or
Yep.
and if you valet it, it's probably $90.
Yeah.
So it's a huge industry for sure.
Mm-hmm. What's the craziest thing that you've seen while valeting a car, like either from you guys yourselves or just like a crazy story from like someone who works for you guys?
Yeah, we've definitely had our handful of crazy stories. In terms of like the nicest vehicle that we've ever parked, our one of our ongoing accounts is this barbecue restaurant near Beverly Hills. Our staff member parked a Bugatti Veyron. It's like a, I don't know, $2.5 million car. When he called me, I was like freaking out. I was like, you gotta go double check that there's no vehicles next door to it, because if that thing gets a door ding, that's gonna cost us like 20 grand. So those high ticket cars are definitely a little scary to park, but we get them very often. And in terms of like just a chaotic scene, unfortunately we've had a vehicle stolen. There were these professional thieves in the LA area, and he basically pretended he found a ticket on the ground, and it happened to be a ticket to one of our cars. So he gave the ticket to one of our staff members, and it just so happened that it was the Tesla sitting right up front, and he zipped off with the Tesla. But little did he know that was like the worst car that you could take, because Teslas are trackable, so the police were on him in like literally like 12 minutes after he left. And for as bad as the situation that it was probably the best outcome that we could have had. Like nothing really happened to the car. We got it back to the owner next day. So
yeah, at least that wasn't the Bugatti.
Yeah, right. We probably wouldn't be talking here if it was the Bugatti.
Love it. What's one dream client or event that you would love to land?
One dream client, I would love to get like Nobu and off PCH. I would absolutely love that. That would be that's like a really big goal of mine. I mean, that's probably one of the most famous restaurants in Southern California. And it's a moneymaker. I mean, every single day of the week, that restaurant's slammed. So that would probably be a dream client to acquire. And that's really our goal, over these next few years, is because we do a lot of private events, a lot. We do over, close to 1,000 a year. But there's only so many events that you can do, so we really want to hone in on those big ticket clients, like those Nobus or the hospitals or casinos. Even a casino would be nice.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. What's the biggest thing that's stopping that? Is it just I guess more reviews, or like what do you think is stopping that from happening?
That's a good question. It's not necessarily the reviews. I feel like with those big clients, they really like the more corporate style valet companies out there, like the Town Parks or the Laz. Those companies are nationwide, and they definitely have a little bit more street cred, for sure. But also, if these clients, they have a valet company, like they're not gonna just switch because you come in at a lower price, unless their valet company does something like really horrendous or their contract comes to an end. It's typically hard to just like go in there, pass a business card, and expect to win over their business.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that makes sense. Well, one day when you own the Nobu, it won't really matter. So
yeah, right. Yeah, soon.
Well, what's one of your favorite books or podcasts that you guys have?
Jonny?
Yeah, the Buy Back Your Time book by Dan Martell was really, really excellent. It just talks a lot about finding the right people. It's really about like scaling. Like if you like being busy all day long and answering emails and doing all the jobs and still making a lot of money but having no free time, then that book's not for you. But if you want to use the money that you're making to have all the freedom and do whatever you want, and bring in the best people, like that book is definitely for you. 10x is greater than 2x is amazing. It just teaches you how to have these crazy ass dreams, and oftentimes those dreams are a lot easier than if you made $1 million and your goal is 2 million, all you have to do is work twice as hard. But if you want to make 10 million and you made $1 million, like you have to change your whole fucking mindset. Like it's impossible to just work 10 times as hard. You'll die from stress. So that's a good one. Who Not How, basically, it's kind of like the same thing. Podcasts, I really enjoy listening to Rich Somers' podcast. He brings in a lot of heavy hitters, super motivational. I like listening to Ken McElroy. He's a more, he's in his 60s. He's been around the block. He's more multifamily guy. Ed Milet's really good.
Yeah.
What about you, Clay?
Going on the podcast, I mean, Jonny and I were together all the time, so we have a lot of the same interests. But Ed Milet, I couldn't recommend enough. I mean, he's very emotional. The way he talks will bring tears to your eyes on some of the stories that he has, and he's amazing. Really like him. So that's my go-to podcast. And the book that I've read this year that resonates with me the most, I would say, is The Gap and the Gain. It is basically really talks about like entrepreneurs. They're always looking for the next accomplishment. And so they don't really enjoy the process until they get that next thing. And if you have that mentality, then you're never like truly going to be like content with your life, So sometimes you just got to take a step back, look at like what you've accomplished and be, grateful for that. And, just know that it takes time and it's a process, it's not going to happen overnight. And you just gotta appreciate the time, and just live in the moment,
Yeah. So I couldn't agree more with all those recommendations. Love Ed Milet, love The Gap and the Gain. Mindset is something that's so important and one of the most important things, I think, in the success of any business, because if you have a good, strong mindset, like nothing else matters. And just to your point, for The Gap and the Gain, it's like, yeah, you really got to enjoy every single moment, because if you just constantly looking forward, you're never going to be happy. Mm-hmm. So I 100% agree with you that that's an incredible book. If the people want to get a hold of you guys, what's the best way for them to do so?
Best way to reach out is you can hit us up on Instagram. My Instagram handle is Parking Mogul. Clay, what's yours?
Clay Velarde. Clay Velarde.
If you're looking for valet or shuttles, www.valetparkingpros.com. We also have a podcast that we started back in December. It's called Get After It. It's on Spotify, YouTube, and Apple Podcasts. And we'd like to chat with you.
Yeah, awesome. Well, I'll put everything in the show notes, and we'll definitely have to get you guys back on. I feel like I could talk to you guys for days. I got to talk about working in the White House. We got to talk about hotels, all this different stuff. So I'm excited to have you guys back on. And I'm very honored to have you guys as friends and just see everything you guys are doing. I know that you guys will have a lot of success in the future. So yeah, super excited for everything you guys are doing. So appreciate you guys coming on. Everyone, I hope you guys found value from today's show. As always, keep growing, keep taking action. We'll see you guys on the next one. Peace.
Thanks,
Thank you,
Lorenzo.
Thank you so much.
See you guys.